Support for the Voice referendum appears to be in freefall, with the Voice losing ground across almost every key demographic according to a recent Redbridge poll. Even the AFL has declined to endorse the Voice at its grand final. Now, whether people are old or young, educated or not, wealthy or not so wealthy, people are turning on the Voice according to this polling. And not only that, there's a clear lack of message discipline in the Yes campaign. Now, only 39% of Australians intend to vote yes at the upcoming referendum, according to Redbridge, and the Voice seems to lack a clear majority in any state. So let's have a look into this, because Redbridge is a reputable polling company and seems to be relatively non-partisan. If anything, it's a little bit left-leaning, so this poll is itself rather telling. So the first insight is that the majority of Australians intend to vote no. Only 39% of people intend to vote yes. Now, digging into that no vote, well, 41% of Australians are hard no voters. That is, they'll be very difficult to persuade toward the yes camp. Conversely, only 22% of Australians are hard yes voters. So there's a clear lack of, perhaps, support within the yes campaign here, a clear lack of enthusiasm, so to speak. Now, the yes campaign clearly has its work cut out for it to get a bare majority, and if this were an election, this would be a wipeout for the losing party. This is not good news for the Yes campaign, because they need to get a bare majority in addition to a majority of Australians and majority of estates for the Yes campaign to get up. The second major insight is that the Yes camp doesn't appear to have a clear majority in any state. Now, Redbridge only breaks out the polling by New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, and lumps all of the other states and territories together in one other category. Now, this is presumably because they don't have enough respondents in each of those states and each of those territories to break them out separately. This, to some extent, is responsible. After all, if you don't have enough people responding to your poll, then you clearly shouldn't be presenting results as if they actually have basis. But in any case, it does look like in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, Yes does not have a majority. It lacks a majority in any of the other states taken on aggregate. Now, the most favourable of these states appears to be Victoria. But even then, only 45% of people intend to vote yes. So here, it appears that the Yes camp is going to fail at both hurdles. It doesn't have a majority of Australians overall, and it doesn't have a majority of Australians in a majority of states. So this therefore looks like it is very unlikely to actually succeed. The third insight is that the Yes camp is losing in both the cities and the regions. Inner metropolitan areas, which you would think would be the most inclined to vote yes, are in fact slightly more likely to vote yes, but even then only 45% of people are. Now, in the regional areas, the vote is actually much lower. But again, it's telling that this isn't just propped up by inner city areas trying to propel the Voice. Inner city areas also don't want this. Fourth, in terms of demographics, both men and women are likely to vote no. Now, anecdotally, it's been reported that the No campaign has done incredibly well on TikTok, and allegedly these TikTok videos are viewed by more young women than they had been otherwise, and this might have swayed the vote. Now, only 37% of men intend to vote yes, and slightly more women intend to vote yes than men. However, even here, there is no clear majority in either camp, and there's no clear split by gender. Fifth, the only age group supporting the Voice is younger voters aged between 18 to 34, where the Yes camp has a majority in that age group. But in all of the other age groups, the Yes camp does not have a majority. It doesn't even have a supermajority in that younger age group. It's only 57% of voters, and that does in fact quickly drop off. No other age group supports the Voice. No age group from 34 onwards supports this Voice, which again is contributing to the dismal showing in the overall polling. Sixth, even so-called elites are turning on the Voice. Now, I don't particularly like the term elites, but people often refer to them as such. People with university degrees, for example. People who like to lord over other people as if they are more intelligent, or more educated, or their opinion is somehow worth more. But in any case, even people with university degrees appear to have turned on the Voice. Only 50% of people with university degrees are supporting it. And in every other category, there is no support. Now, this is interesting, because one wonders, in fact, whether the Yes support is actually overstated in the university-educated people. Because with businesses and universities all corralling around the Yes campaign, people might be slightly concerned about expressing, perhaps, trepidation about voting yes. People might be concerned about expressing that they intend to vote no, so there could in fact be a quiet no voter. But even if we ignore a quiet no voter, even if we assume the quiet no doesn't exist, even educated elites, so to speak, have turned on the Voice. Similarly, the support actually tapers off with wealth. Those earning more than $200,000 per year evidence the least support. Now this might in fact be because they're acutely aware that if the voice succeeds, then there's likely to be a treaty, and if there's a treaty, there'll be some form of quote-unquote reparations, which could involve a financial settlement, maybe in the form of a proportion of GDP, maybe in the form of a land tax, maybe in the form of a special levy. And people who are already paying very high taxes are acutely aware that they could be hit with yet another tax. Therefore, they're turning on the voice as well. But again, no clear wealth demographic actually supports the voice. Next, it does appear that the voice has slightly more support amongst people who speak languages other than English at home. Now again here, yes does not have a majority. It is still in the minority amongst that category, but it has larger support than people who just speak English at home. Now again, there could be multiple reasons for this. I don't want to stereotype or speculate. I'm sure that the reasons might differ between each individual. But in any case, that's what we're seeing in terms of the demographic data. There's very few demographics that actually support the Yes campaign, and the only one that seems to clearly do so is very younger voters. The next issue is then, why are people expressing support or a lack of support for the voice? Because this gives us an idea about what each of the campaigns need to work on if they want to convince voters. It also gives us an idea about the message discipline or lack thereof across both the Yes campaign and the No campaign. Now if we look at the top single reason for voting yes, the most commonly stated one is the idea that the voice has come directly from Indigenous Australians. Indigenous Australians particularly want the voice. But even then, this only gets 16% of support as the top reason. And the support quickly tapers off from there, as people will disaggregate across multiple other reasons. Now this of course could be a little bit of an odd reason to vote yes of course, but in any case if there were to be a treaty later on, then presumably both Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians would need to consent to this, and therefore whether the idea comes from one party or the other is really a little bit beside the point. Interestingly, a massive 29% of people list an inchoate other reason for voting yes. This suggests a lack of overall clarity and message discipline within the Yes campaign. Now if we turn to the top reasons for voting no, 23% of people say that it's because it will divide us. Interestingly, however, 11% of people say that the voice would unite us as their reason for voting yes. So there is a clear split on what the voice will actually achieve. Now other reasons for voting no include the lack of details, that it will not actually help Indigenous Australians, and that it will be costly and bureaucratic. Now these are clear to have relatively large bases of support. There's a relatively low level of other reasons, so to speak, for voting no. Rather, there appears to be quite a lot of message discipline within the No campaign. Now, the lack of details themselves are actually rather interesting and stand out, because it appears the more details that emerge about the voice, the less people actually like it. However, on the other hand, the more the Yes campaign tries to obfuscate, the more people also turn on it. It's almost as if there's this circular problem that the Yes campaign can't actually escape from. They can't provide details because people don't like the details, but if they don't like the details, then people don't like the vagueness. There's not really a good situation for the Yes campaign here. Rather, what they should have done is from the beginning actually worked out a proposal that actually made sense and that people actually wanted. But it appears they didn't go through the legwork of actually trying to do that. But in any case, the overall picture is rather dire for the Yes campaign. There is, after all, a reason why the AFL has decided to not promote the voice at the grand final. And the polling here is rather telling and rather interesting. But if you've got any thoughts about what's going on with each of these campaigns, the Yes campaign and the No campaign, and what each of them are doing right and what they're doing wrong, let me know that in the comments below. But otherwise, thanks a lot for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I see you next time as well.